Tramadolito Quintana, Piti Valverde, or Aceite de Coco Lopez are some of the cyclists with a past related to doping who won the Volta Catalunya brilliantly. Riders whom the Slovenian alien Tadej Pogacar has burst with the best victory in a 7-day Vuelta World Tour in 41 years. That's when the Kelme squad, who shared the team with the doping director Vicente Beldavicedo, won the 1983 Volta Catalunya with Pepe Recio, with a margin of more than 4.5 minutes, thanks to a random breakaway that gave him the final victory. That is to say, during 268 races in 41 years, with cyclists like Bernard Hinault, Miguel Indurain, Lance Armstrong or Chris Froome, nobody, absolutely nobody, has been close to equaling the almost 4 minutes of advantage that Pogi has taken from the second classified rider in this Volta Catalunya, the veteran gregario of Remco Evenepoel, Mikel Landa. Now, we had already told you on this channel about the UAE Emirates Slovenians' dull dominance during the first 3 days of the competition. But if that wasn't enough, Tadej was able to take 2 more stage wins, making him, with 6 wins, the cyclist with the most World Tour wins of the season, and just needs 1 more to come close to the Danish anchovy for total wins for the season. He is arguably the greatest cyclist of the last 50 years, so why, in a training race like this, does he need to inflict such beatings on his rivals? Let's analyse it closely, and you can leave a super thanks if you want to know who have been the most doped cyclists so far this season. That's in the next video we upload. But now, without further ado, let the show begin. Despite Pogi's ample victories during the first half of the season, we had yet to see the UAE Team Emirates rider on a really tough stage, such as the one posed by the 6th stage of the Volta Catalunya 2024. It seemed as if the money of the exiled former Catalan president and keen European tourist, Carlos Puigdemont, was back in play as he promises to return Catalonia to independence from Spain. And the organisation, in which the Generalidad de Catalunya has almost the same power as Omari Sports, wanted to honour such an expense with one of the best days ever seen in a Volta Catalunya. A mountainous course of 150 kilometres from the very hard Col de Pradell, located at the perfect moment before climbing 2 short but steep mountains like the Collada de Sant Isidre and the Santuari de Queralt in the high finish. A course where again Pogi showed that he was by far the best of the contenders. Team Visma wanted to try to scare Dracula Gianetti's team on the Col de Pradell, but despite the efforts of the veteran Steven Kruijswijk and the young Jan Uiterbroeks, team leader Sepkos, the Andorran with a gringo passport, was very motivated to perform near his tax haven, but he was completely unhooked with more than 50 kilometres to go. It is curious to see how many fans complained that Pogi did not attack on the special category mountain, as if they would be left empty-handed if the overall leader, who had already won 2 stages, did not attack at a sidereal distance from the finish line. He didn't have to. He didn't even have to attack where he did, 30 kilometres from the finish line on the Collada de Sant Isidre. Again, they tried to follow him, but the difference between bib number 1 and everyone else was so superior that within a few metres, everyone knew once more that he was on his way to victory. For Pogi, it was just another training session, a way to try to perform in the mountains, now with higher temperatures. He didn't push, he didn't want to crush the competition, or even, laugh amongst yourselves, expose a weakness. At no time could any rider cut him down. But Pogi's haters immediately began to criticize him, because in the Santuari de Queralt, even though he made the best time, giving him all the air in his face, and crossing the finish line fresh as Alaphilippe's lips on a litre of beer from the Carrefour supermarket, he didn't crush the competition. And while he was pedaling his Colnago bike like there was no tomorrow, behind him, Remco Evenepoel's gregario and Ineos's Colombian millionaire Egan Bernal were trying to close the gap to the Slovenian. They did not succeed. Even at the finish line, the reborn South American rider claimed that it was impossible to get close to Pogi's pace, as if he was from another planet. Simply an alien, out of reach of great climbers like the Tour de France and Giro d'Italia champion. And not only that, but on the Castell de Montjuïc circuit in Barcelona, Pogi did it again. In another time trial with no other motivation than to win one more stage, the Slovenian left the Australian Stephen Williams of Sylvan Adams' Israel Premier Tech team to stew. And holding off Eganito and the much-improved and surprising Antonio Tiberi and the Spanish beast Enric Menos Mas, he beat them all in a massive sprint of more than 30 riders to take his fourth stage in a 7-day tour. A record on a par with sprinters like heartsick Peter Sagan, wife-beater Mario Cipollini, or cyclist abuser bottle thrower Tom Steels. And that's in the last 40 years. And it might have been unique had it not been for Sylvan Adams' Jewish Israel Premier Tech team's Australian Nick Schultz, who wanted to send a message to Froome that with hard work you can also beat monsters like Urska Zigard's boyfriend. Logically, Pogi won the general classification, taking more distance from the 10th place rider than the white Kenyan himself in the 2016 Tour de France for 14 more days. Absolutely hilarious. Otherworldly figures that make us only wonder, what is Tadej's secret in a year when his main goals are the Giro d'Italia, Tour de France, Paris 2024 Olympics, and the Road Cycling World Championships? Beyond what we know about Pogi's preparations in the Kolobnev hyperbaric chambers, and the training sessions in the velodrome with his new physical trainer Javier Solà, and with the wizard at fighting cancer Íñigo San Millán, who is still the performance director, making the Slovenian cyclist fly, in the forum Parlamento Ciclista, user Sergio182 commented on a detail to take into account. According to Sergio182, he in Valencia met with one of Pogi's trainers, possibly the Valencian Didac Navarro, or Javier Solà himself, or the masseur of doped riders like Marco Pantani or Juanjo Cobo, Paco Yuna. Basically, the Parlamento Ciclista forum member congratulated the trainer for the hilarious 81-kilometer solo Strade Bianche of the world's highest-paid rider, and then asked him about the difficulty of Pogi's challenge to win his third Tour de France against monsters like Remco Evenepoel or his arch-nemesis Jonas Vingegaard. The trainer responded to Sergio by arguing that Pogi was doing such brutal preparation that he would leave the Slovenian rider's best levels behind, out of sight, such as back in 2020 when he appeared out of nowhere on the final day to blow Roglic away on the Planche de Belfi and take his first Tour de France, but the difference being that this year, beforehand, he would try to win as many competitions as possible. These words of the Pogačar trainer are open to interpretation, but if we think coldly and rationally, Tadej's plan for this year's Tour de France becomes more obvious. Try to hold off the little dictator as long as possible, and then cut seconds off him in the finishes as much as possible, and then fry the Danish anchovy on the grill in the final time trial in Nice, like the always clean Greg LeMond did when he defeated the doper Laurent Fignon in 1989. In other words, believe it or not, Pogi's best performance is yet to come. He knows that last year a married anchovy defeated him against the clock in Salonche, and now he wants to give it back with interest. Oh, it's going to be a legendary tour.